Hello and welcome back to Genesis Designs and Watercraft Bench, and today I have the brand new Eduard 1/48 F4F-3 Wildcat. Been looking forward to this one. I do like Wildcats, don't know why, just think they're cool. Quickly, first and foremost, I will apologise for the delay in transmissions. You know, I have spoken to a few people lately. I do have a full-time job and a young child, you know, and a life, so I can't just spend all my time making videos as much as I perhaps would if I could. Anyway, enough said. So, I was at the Avon show, Thornbury, this weekend just gone, and I picked this up from Andy Hills at Antics, so thanks very, very much to Andy. A small discount, and this kit that only arrived at his shop on Friday, so it was really good to get it so quickly. Haven't had much of a look at it, so this is very off the cuff, initial impression type stuff, and it is just going to be a quick inbox. I'm not going to do a snipper on this one just yet. So here we go. Box. Well, do you know what, this is not the Great Box Review Channel Incorporated, but it's a decent box, and the reason I make note of that is that for the longest time Eduard, to be honest, have not been great at boxes. This new style that they've got going on, I really like it. Beautiful, glossy, yeah, there's the light. Glossy box, lovely art, you know, there's a good size without being stupidly big or stupidly small. You've got your decal schemes on the side there, the rest of it is just repeats, but it's really nice. This is the Profipack, the initial release. I say I got a slight discount. It should cost you somewhere just shy of £30 in the UK. I think I've seen them for as little as 25 online already. Let's unpack it. And see what we've got. So first up, let's look at this one. Peely sticky bags, as ever. And in this first bag, we've just got the fuselage and the wings. So, as one might expect, all moulded in one piece. There's not really any reason not to with a Wildcat, is there? So, points to note initially. The Wildcat, in common with other Grumman fighters of the era, had quite, you could say, agricultural construction in some areas. The fuselage skins were overlapping, so you had a raised edge on each of these, and much of the riveting on the Wildcat was raised mushroom head rivets. So is this replicated on this kit? No, it is not. It is completely smooth. Panel lines are recessed as ever, and most of the rivets are recessed, but not all. There are some raised rivets in various places, and I'll just come up close and pause. Hopefully you can get a good feel there. Surface detail is lovely, it's very Eduard and it's very nice. It's very crisply moulded. There's a minimal detail on the inside, but we'll maybe touch on that later if I remember. Wings then. Single pieces. The early Wildcats such as this did not have folding wings, and again you've got a mixture of raised rivets and the standard sort of Eduard recessed rivets. It's a nice mixture actually, and I think with some paint on that's going to look really quite convincing. And I note that one thing that they've done is made the raised rivets are not next to the seams, which is nice because it's quite easy to reconstruct recessed rivets even when they're tiny, but reconstructing raised rivets is a whole other story. It is really pretty much impossible to do convincingly, I think. So there's the wings, nothing much to say, but really standard stuff. Very, very nice machining on the moulds. Really sweet surface detail, and again I'll give you a close-up shifty of that area there. So, there are a second pack. So there are two packs of the main sprues. This is the second one. And there are 3 separate frames in here. I'll start with this one. Clearly mostly concerning the engine parts, which there are quite a few. So you've got 2 separate forward cowl options. There are a couple of undercarriage parts kicking around on here. Instrument panel, the engine cylinders, some parts of the cockpit there. Oh, three separate cowl fronts, silly. More engine parts, there's the intercoolers there. 2 separate sort of, crankcase fronts. It's all good. And look at the moulding on these cockpit parts. Absolutely spectacular. 3 separate cowl options to incorporate the different exhaust and cowl flap layouts. It's just the 2 halves and then the front piece there, and there's your propeller, and it also features some raised detail on the collars at the middle there. Next up, internal details for the most part. And this does look really very impressive, doesn't it? Here's your main firewall. So on the Wildcat, the undercarriage is all attached at the firewall, and there's various chains and pulleys that actuate it all. Here they are, reproduced in plastic form. Go on, camera, do it. You know you can. There you go. Cockpit floor, various undercarriage parts. They're very, very finely moulded. So do take care snipping these off. Be very gentle because you could quite easily snap these, I think, in the act of getting them off. We have 1-piece tyres and a back and a front part of the wheel that slot into them. I like that because it means you're not trying to clean up a join line, just a mould seam. Yeah, various details. It all looks super nice. That's your rudder pedals. And the last main grey sprue, here we go. Tab planes and rudders and things like that. More engine parts, drop tanks. There are a couple of tiny bombs, very tiny, towel, etc. More engine options. So the fabric rendition, so we've got fabric towel control surfaces here. It's Eduard, so it's a tad overstated, but it's not offensively so, I think, on this occasion. I did buy the Eduard SE5, and I admit I mostly bought it for the hip flask to give away to my son, but the fabric effects on the wings of that, I mean, you'd have tripped over it as you walked past. It was absolutely ridiculous, but these aren't nearly as bad. So they're quite a pleasant sort of scalloping effect, and the rib tapes and in fact the staples underneath them are represented, but they're not ridiculous, so I'll give you a pass on that, Eduard. But yeah, there's no obvious massive sort of moulding flaws really. There's no real flash, which is often a feature of neutral Eduard kits of late. It doesn't seem to be so in this case, and again there's a bit more cockpit detail. It's really, really good. Now, and the reason I make a point of that, to be honest, when Eduard brought out I think it was around about when they brought out the Spitfire 9, roughly when they started beginning to integrate the whole brass in accessories on release sort of deal that they do now, and I feel that they took a light backward step in their moulded detail at that point, and the cynical part of me thinks that, yeah, you need to leave room for your brass in. Am I right? I don't know, but I do think that the moulded detail at that point, although it was still very good, was not as good as it could have been. It's not as good as Eduard could do, and I do think that was because that they were offering their detail sets alongside at the same time. I think although that is still the case, and I mentioned the minimal sidewall detail in the fuselage mouldings. I mean, that's partly the layout of the Wildcat that's bringing that, but it's also because it makes it easier to integrate those aftermarket sets from the get-go. That's why they do it. But yeah, I think the newer releases, to be honest, I think they've picked up their game a bit again, and this is right up there. Very, very nice. Last plastic part, transparencies in a Ziploc bag. I'm not a Wildcat expert, so I can't talk you through these options, but we've got 4 different windscreens here. I'm going to make a wild guess and say 2 are for an open canopy and 2 are for a closed canopy. So we've in fact got 2 options, one with extra vertical framing and one without. Don't know, there you go. And there'll be an open and a closed version of the main canopy. These are the windows that go underneath, and then you've got, I think that's possibly the gun sight, the early type, various navigation lights, landing lights, etc. It's all very typical Eduard, very, very competent, clear and straight, very nice. Just enough options. Pop that back in there so it doesn't get damaged while I'm chucking everything about. So then, to supplement that, we have the masks. These are covering the transparencies and the wheels, and then a small photo etch fret. What we got here? Instrument panels, obviously, various cockpit placards and panel details, seat belts, and some radiator face type things, and a few other bits that I can't identify just from looking at it. I do really like this modern style of coloured etch that they're doing now. I'll bring it up so you can see what I'm talking about. But see how the instrument panel backing, the one with the dials printed on it, has already got a gloss finish on it, and it's sort of 3D. So it's got a kind of a fishbowl effect going on. I really like that. It means that you can flat coat the front part separately and just pop that on and it's done. You don't have to challenge your eyesight and the steadiness of your hands trying to drip gloss varnish or crystal clear or something into these admittedly very small circles to make your instrument glasses. They're already there. I really like that feature. Does it work better this way around? Probably. There you go. Now we're underexposing because of the shininess of it, so there you go, that's a bit better. You can see those dial faces already represented there. It's a very nice etched piece, especially sets included. It's very, very nice indeed. So that's that. So let's have a quick look at the instructions. A4 sized, glossy, good quality paper, very nice indeed. Big bunch of history there. If you want to, you can pause that and probably read it. Parts diagrams to show you what's where, and the bits that will not be used, which are quite numerous actually, are shaded in blue. Colour callouts for guns and mission models down here, and these will be referred to throughout the instructions in number form. And off we go. So, early and late variants of seat, building up the cockpit assembly. Quite a lot of bits of photo etch going on too. See where it's red? Red means cut off the raised detail to add the photo etch. Purely personal preference on this. I don't necessarily prefer photo etch to good raised detail as long as I can paint it effectively. Same going down there, side consoles. And the rudder pedal and sort of lower console area. That then gets that a sort of structural looking piece added on the front. Set that to one side, and then you go to the firewall, and build up the undercarriage retraction assembly, the intercoolers, and in fact the engine mounts. Very impressive. There are those scant sidewalls there. As I say, partially that is because of the way the cockpit is constructed. You see, it is kind of all separate, but it does make for much easier inclusion later on of any brassing that they choose to release. And then sandwiching it all in with that nice little spar locating everything and helping later on with the wings. Here you are building up the undercarriage legs themselves. And in common with other Wildcat kits here, they make the part scale, and each of the separate parts is quite spindly and maybe a little bit frightening looking on the sprue and when you're working with it. But once you get everything together, the structure as a complete unit is always quite strong. There it is all going in. Here's showing you where all the masks go, with note that you need to fill in a few areas with liquid. So they've put some cuts in these top masks to allow them to conform to the shape more easily, but that does mean you need to remember to put a bit of liquid mask on there just to stop any spray creeping in. There's your undercarriage doors, exhausts and wheels going on. And then the wing panels couldn't really be simpler. Add a couple of radiators and a few small bits of etch and plonk them together. There's not a lot going on there. The engine itself, again, relatively simple. You've already done all the work when with all of that unit there. So that's the back part of the engine, in reality, already mounted onto the engine cradle. And here's a comprehensive list of what you use each cowl for, numbers and the marking reference. And that all comes together to that already completed and be-wheeled fuselage. I was right, that was a gun sight. Yay! Geek points awarded. And finally, adding aerials, bomb racks, propeller to taste. So on to the markings then, and there are some nice ones here. First off, VF41 in 1940, USS Ranger. Classic yellow wing scheme. So you've got silver. The main meat of the aircraft is gloss aluminium, and it's paint, it's not natural metal. And you've got a white recognition stripes on the cowl, rear fuselage and the main wings, but then yellow upper surfaces and this willow green tail unit, which is a very handsome shade of green. Very, very nice indeed. And I think each sort of section had a different tail colour. Next up, this one, very strange, isn't it? It's just overall grey. Reason being, it was from a wargaming exercise that was carried out. Overall grey, it's got the classic star with the red dot in the centre, and then it's got these big red crosses added which denoted which side that the aircraft was on. Following that, USS Lexington VF-3 1942. This is a classic blue-grey over gold-grey sort of scheme with the red and white fin rudder and the early stars with the red centres again. Another one, but this time without the striped rudder. Pretty much the vanilla scheme of the time. So this one is Wake Island 1941. Yorktown 42, we've gone back to the striped rudder and massive stars. Do like that, although those decals will be a challenge on the contours in that area. And you've got this, it's quite interesting on the wings, it's kind of overpainted smaller stars, which is supplied as one big decal actually. And then on the back, Midway, June 42, and this one you've lost the stripy rudder and you've lost the red centres to the national markings. Really, really nice selection of schemes. And I've actually built a few Wildcats before. I've done a 30-second trumpeter one in this scheme, that exact scheme actually. I did the Hobby Boss 48th one in this scheme, which is essentially a shrunk down 30-second one. And I did a Tamiya 48th one in this scheme. So now, talking of previous Wildcat kits, there are not that many actually. The Tamiya 48th, the Trumpeter Hobby Boss 48th, Trumpeter 32nd, they're all very good kits actually. But none of them are as detailed as this one, or as accomplished moulding wise. The Tamiya one does feature raised rivets and that overlapping fuselage panel detail. The Hobby Boss one is a Hobby Boss. It's all recessed. So we've got an error page here, an oopsie sheet. So that's for the main instructions. Don't forget that. So don't build it and then find this in the bottom of the box when you go fishing out the Decals sheet and realise that you've built it incorrectly. Be warned. Decals themselves. It's quite a big sheet. And there's extras. There you go. So see what I mean about the overpainted roundels there, and the underneath ones are a slightly different shade of blue to the new ones there. These are, love them or hate them, the newer style Decals. I actually like them. I know that a lot of people, increasingly I'm seeing people saying they don't, but not just because of the film issues, because of printing issues. But I've got to say that these look pretty much okay to me. I don't see any of the horrible dottiness that's been mentioned elsewhere recently. Do have rudder stripes. It's probably easier to paint them, but they're there if you don't fancy that. And a whole bunch of interior stuff, instrument panel, placard and side console decals there, which is a really nice touch, given that you do get etch in the kit as well. And then just the later scheme there, just on that one small additional sheet. And again, there's really nothing wrong with the printing on these. You can see, I don't know if it's going to come through on the film, but you can see a sort of almost a weird faded look to the blue, but that's actually an optical illusion because of where the tracing paper's been stuck on. It's just left some marks. I think that will disappear in use without any trouble, so nothing to worry about. And then there's another errata for a black stripe. I'm going to assume that that's for the yeah, there you go. That one wasn't long enough, look. So here's a long one. So yeah, I personally like the Eduard Decals now that I've got used to them and developed strategies to use them effectively. I do like them. I've got no issues with them. I really like the fact that you can get rid of the carrier film and not have to worry about hiding it with extra layers of paint. Others are less keen on that, but this sheet is printed just fine, so there's no issues with that. Cool, and that's it. What a lovely kit. Doesn't seem, Eduard don't seem to be hiking the prices yet. I'm sure they will at some point. All the glory that is Brexit will probably give us some import charges or something like that at some point, but at the minute you can still pick this up for normal Profipack prices, which are beginning to look like a bargain because everybody else's prices are going up the way they are. I'm really happy with it. As soon as I saw the Zero and the Wildcat announced by Eduard, I thought I need to have that Wildcat. I've never finished a Zero yet. They seem to lose me in the build process, but I do like Wildcats. And this is a beautiful kit, I hope you agree. It looks absolutely spectacular, and I don't doubt that we'll be seeing some really nice built ones coming through very, very quickly. But anyway, there you go. Quick inbox look at the new Eduard Wildcat. It's another hit, I think. Well up to their normal standards, and hopefully the build of it will be too. Again, thank you very much to Andy Hills for dropping this on my table on Sunday morning. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Do give Antics a look if you're looking for some Eduard kits. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you find it useful. So, only remains for me to say, please look after yourselves, look after each other, and Genesis out.